Hi, Roger from Katatonia here. I thought I'd go through a few of the pedals that we used during the recordings of City Burials. And this is a completely analog setup. So this one goes out to all the fellow nerds out there. First of all, the T-Rex Tone Trunk 45, the pedal board, which is just small enough to be allowed as a carry-on bag if you're flying around playing festivals or so and don't want to risk checking it in and having it violently thrown about by airport staff and then possibly arriving in pieces. I like that it has two levels as well, making the back row here more accessible, and that there's a wah bracket on the side here. If you see, you can build up to fit larger pedals, and also underneath you got PSU brackets, so you can get all of that away. You don't want to see that. So very smooth and yeah, keeps things accessible and getting the electricity parts away. Okay, now for the pedals. First in the chain is the Ibanez Weeping Demon. This is hands down my favorite wah of all time. It's an optical wah, so no more faulty pots. It's activated by stepping on it, like if you can see the light going on and off there. As soon as you step off, it's off. So, which is really smooth. And there's an adjustable spring that pushes it back, so you always start in the lower register, which also makes sense to me. And there's a volume on the side that acts like a boost, so you can control how much you want it to scream. I've pretty much always got it set on 12 o'clock. I haven't seen any other manufacturers pick up on this, the feather thing and the whole solution, which I find a bit odd, to be honest. But yeah, I love this one. Could have lived with it being a bit smaller, but there you go. Other than that, it's a perfect wah, in my opinion. Now for the mini pedals. I do love that this has become an alternative these days in so many brands. To be able to fit all of this stuff that I need on such a small pedal board is just great. And to start, the Korg Pitch Black Mini Tuner. Not much to say about that one, except it's an excellent tuner. I have the large one as well, but I find the display on this one a bit clearer actually. And pretty much the same size too, weirdly enough. Next up is the Philosopher's Tone Micro, which is a compressor sustainer that I mainly use as a sustainer for crunch and lead sounds. Besides the volume and sustain knobs, you also have a mix knob, a blend knob, and a treble knob, so you can compensate for the treble sometimes lost in the compression. Next in the chain is the Ibanez Chorus Mini. It's an old favorite analog chorus that I'm thrilled have now come out in mini format. You got depth, and you got level, and you got the speed knobs. And the speed being the large one and more accessibly one, which is also the most frequently used one for me at least. Then we have the Black Sheep Trelicopter, which is a tremolo with 3 controls: depth, bias, and speed. Also here with the speed knob being the large knob and most accessible one. And once again, for me, also the most used one. Then from the same brand we have the Black Sheep Flanger, which has an old school Electric Mistress style sound to it. It's got a color, feedback knob, and a range or depth knob, and a rate or speed control on it. And also a switch allowing you to go normal flanger sound or the straight up filter sound. I usually have it in the normal mode. Then we have the MXR Phase 95. And it's basically 4 classical phasers compressed into one mini-size pedal. Besides the speed knob, you got switches on the sides. You got a 45 or 90 switch. Red, it's the 90, and blue, it's the 45 mode. Then you have the script mode and the block mode. When it's pressed down, it's in the script mode. Personally, I tend to use the script 45 setting mostly, but it's nice with the options. Then we have the Tube Screamer Mini. It's a classic 808 overdrive pedal in a mini format. Never really been a friend of the other versions of Tube Screamer, to be honest, apart from using them as a boost pedal, turning the overdrive down and the volume up. But this one is a different beast altogether. I like how it's tightening up the low end without cutting as much of it out as the other versions do. Then we get into what's pretty much the heart of the whole thing, the AMT-M lead. Basically, it's like having my old Marshall 2203 in a mini pedal. It even reacts extremely similar to the 808. It's a very, very dynamic preamp that goes from a bluesy kind of crunch to more raw rock distortion sounds. And yeah, if I need more distortion than that, I add on the 808. And then we've got the Ibanez analog delay, which is another old favorite that has now come out in mini pedal package. It's a warm and slightly dirty with a bucket brigade circuit that doesn't interfere with the main signal. And last in the chain, we've got the Anasounds Element Spring Reverb. Now this is an interesting one, as I wanted to keep this particular setup completely analog. Finding a pedalboard friendly reverb was kind of a hard nut to crack. I'd looked around for ages for a Bucket Brigade based one, like the old Arion stereo reverb or the Dodd stereo reverb from back in the 80s, which are apparently really hard to come by. When it hit me, what about real springs? So I started looking into building a reverb tank driver when I stumbled across this French company called Anasounds, who had the whole thing down already. It's a driver pedal with the accompanying reverb tank small enough to fit under the pedal board. So it's got a low and high bass and treble controls, so you can shape the reverb, and a mix knob and an output knob, and also a switch for overdriving the springs. And then you can have a clean sound but with overdriven springs on top of it, which is a really cool effect. I mainly use it pretty much like this. The guitar I'm playing on now is actually my main guitar from the album as well. It's the Schecter Ultra 2, and it's got a Seymour Duncan SH4 in bridge position and a SH2 in the neck position. And it's got the Planet Waves locking tuners as well, which are really nice because they cut off the string just by the peg, so you don't have to think about that, which makes changing strings really, really smooth. There you go.